Welcome back to YouTube. So yeah, I thought we'd run through a little bit of a Q&A for some of the questions we got asked on one of our recent Q&A boxes. Obviously we banked a few just to sort of save for the video, which have been enjoyed throughout. So hopefully they're enjoyed again today. But we'll see how we go. Keep it nice and short as best we can. I don't know these questions, so.
First question, how do you manage working together and your relationship? You can start this one.
Not that easily. It's hard to separate between the relationship and the work at times, but obviously it is something that we are passionate about. So in being passionate about it, we do find ourselves talking about clients and talking about work and talking about elements of the business outside of work hours. I don't think it's for everyone. Anyone that's worked with a partner will probably vouch for that, I would say.
I will say, however, I think because of your actual work itself, why am I talking to you? I think because of Michael's actual work in itself, and the fact that he does check-ins on all days, like they're evenly split across all days of the week. I think even when I wasn't working for you, it was still something that was like consistent conversation. So right from the start, it has been sort of a little bit difficult to navigate even when we weren't working together. But I feel as though the more we go on, the better boundaries you know what? I wouldn't even say the better the boundaries become. I think it's more so the more we just acknowledge and accept that like it's inevitable that it's going to be a consistent conversation thing. If we're ever in a moment and one of us doesn't want to talk about it, like if we're on our way somewhere or if we're out doing something together, we'll just say like, stop talking about it. And then there's no issues there. But I think it's inevitable that it's going to be something that comes up quite consistently, and it is so consuming considering that being a coach is consuming. Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I feel as though it took me quite a long time to understand that, especially with like the goals and the fact that there's competitors involved that are quite consistent with communication. But yeah, I think we get better at it.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, very slowly.
Trying to get a little bit better with it now, just with like sort of expanding the business to have others doing specific roles for us. So that's been a little bit helpful. Yeah. So fingers crossed moving forward, it gets easier and easier. But yeah, we'll see.
I think as well, when we, actually no, let's not talk too much about each question. Number 2, what was the most enjoyable part of our recent overseas travel?
Alicante.
Yeah, I would say the place I was looking least forward to was Spain, and it was like where I enjoyed the most out of everything.
Alicante was definitely the best in regards to like livability. So working that in with routine, whether that be training, whether that be working, and just to have that balance of leisure was quite nice. It was also quite accessible to like other cities, like Benidorm, Valencia. Even if you want to go to Madrid or Barcelona, you can do it.
Public transport
was really good, and just the overall like nature of the place is very nice. So obviously they had shows there. There's 2 really big shows there in June. So the Amateur Row and the M-Pro. I feel like it would be somewhere that would be good to be for like the lead up to that, whether that be like the 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on how long you want to actually be settled into the routine. But that's not why we liked it. It's just very nice. For me, it was like you get that vibe of being in Spain without the tourists, like you would get in, say, Barcelona, because you're bombarded by tourists in Barcelona. But Malta was also quite good for just like a lifestyle perspective. It's not super busy. It's warm, really picturesque. And everywhere that we went had good facility for gyms. Barcelona was a bit of a miss, but you also need to acknowledge that we're like in the center of Bar, so I'm sure if you go like further out, city. They would have proper gyms. Yeah, but again, that's not the real reason we would mark a place as we enjoyed it or not. Yeah.
I feel as though the trip as a whole, considering how well we navigated the work side of everything and how consistent and how well we stuck to our boundaries with work by ensuring that work was getting done, and that outside of obviously the difference in the time zone, so like communication times would be slightly different, like check-ins were being returned as fast as possible, which is actually quite interesting because I saw somebody post on their story today about how they were doing like check-ins on their like lunch break whilst they were on holiday, and I thought, I'm glad that we prioritize our clients so much that we don't do anything until the client work is done. Because it's unfair to have people sign up for us to be providing them with a service if we're not even doing that.
And we're not, even if my mentality is regardless of what I'm doing, whether it's I'm traveling, whether that be a holiday, whether that be for work, whether I'm busy, stressed, whatever. Like if someone signed up for a service, they get the service no matter what. And that meant waking up at 4 a.m. every day. So that was terrible by the end. I was run down, but the first 4 weeks of it were manageable. I think in Malta I had a little bit of trouble just because we had more to do with family and James and Alana.
Yeah.
But I think one night I slept like 4 hours just so I could get up and do it. And in the middle of the day I'm like nodding off in the car, but it was fine. I think I fell asleep in every taxi ride we did. Yeah, I fell asleep in every single taxi we ever got into. It was like I was in a time machine. I'd fall asleep and he'd wake me up. I'd be like, oh, we're here, good. Like a 40-minute tab ride. That was great.
Yeah. But I do get a little bit of depression whenever I look at people's stories and they're in Europe right now.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have had time where I didn't have to worry about work while we were there.
But at the same time, you take that time off and then you worry even more.
It's a trade-off that you get. This is the industry.
Yeah. Question 3. Who do you have competing this season and in what federations? I think cover both you and James's class.
We have competitors in every federation except FMG. Yeah. Every notable federation. So IFBB, ICN, NBA, AMB. Yeah, obviously the only ones that would be beyond that is like I've never had a PCA client actually. PCA is not big in Australia though.
Yeah.
And then any other open federation, a bit of a digger, just crap, so I don't care about them.
Yeah.
FMG obviously is technically an open federation, but yeah, we don't have any for FMG. That would be another notable one.
And we do have quite a few competitors crossing, obviously, numerous federations, more specifically like natural competitors. But it's super exciting because I feel as though out of all the seasons of competitors that we've had so far, we've made such an effort to create like a community. Like we've done meetups, we had coffee with them all the other day. We're organising like group posing sessions just to iron out any sort of nerves, iron out any posing, make sure that everyone feels as though they're like connected to us
and on a team.
And connected to other people, that if they need extra support, they have several people who are experiencing sort of the same thing that they can reach out to. And then we're also going to do our competitor shoot, and then we'll probably just see them in person quite a lot, might go for another walk, check on how everyone's doing, even between shows too, which is really exciting because I feel as though it's been such an enjoyable season so far. Like getting to know everybody on a deeper level and knowing that they really enjoy being part of like an actual team.
It was a more difficult season this season because it felt like there was a shorter turnaround from season A to season B, disregarding IFBB season B. So let's just still call them season A and season B, compared to like season B last year into season A this year, where there was like a 7-month gap or 6.5, where this one was like 4.5, plus middle of winter, a bit of travel as well in there too, for us. But I think we have a smaller cohort than last season, because I think we did like 20 last season. We got like 14 now, maybe like 12 or 13 even, depending on how few go. Got a few pushing timelines, because obviously you don't want to get someone too close. I'd rather not have someone up there, like not have put someone up there rather than get them up there underdone, depending on where they're at. So like if they were underdone but they've done everything 1000% and it's been a smooth ride and they really just wanted to do it, then that would be something I'm willing to put up, that's fine. But if it's a situation where we have missed boxes, whether that be intentional on their behalf, within their control, or like there's cases where it's out of their control, where that just be personal life stresses and things, that's where sometimes you weigh up whether, right, like we can do this better, so why waste the effort and costs? And obviously it comes down to having an open conversation with the client. But I think amongst the clients we have this season, I think we are pushing with a hand, despite being a smaller pool. I think the results are looking like they could be quite good, especially for a select few of them. Obviously we don't like to set expectations up too high, because it's a sport where you don't really know who's going to be there on the day. But there is a handful or a select few who I'm quite optimistic about. But again, you don't know, because, for example, you put someone in one lineup one season and they do really well, and then you look at the next lineup and it's like, well, that person that won last season wouldn't have even placed top 5 this season, hypothetically. It is very federation and category dependent, though. But yeah, we're not going to list names. No. But Yeah, I think for IFBB we have two. Yeah, there was a third, but we've just moved him across to season A just for the case of we thought we could get a better result just by pushing it back. There was some parts of the process that were a little bit less optimal than I would have liked. It was nothing to do with the client. He was fucking immaculate to deal with. And we sort of just put our heads together and I said, look, we can do this and we'll look pretty good, but like you can do even better next season and you'll have a little bit more of a support network because I think season A we have like 5 or 6 doing IFBB. Maybe even more, and we just thought that would be like just a more fun, better result. Get to know him a little bit better because he jumped on pretty close to the prep starting, in with some weird intricate moves. But yeah, can't fault the effort and can't fault the progression either. But yeah, my rambling. Eh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Question 4: will you look at hiring other coaches in the future?
We have. So we have hired again, just yet to launch, getting them up to speed with a handful of clients just to sort of learn how we do things. They're an established coach previously. I think they've been coaching for a few years now. It gives us an opportunity to audit the work before we actually say, hey, this is a coach who we're offering to potential inquirers. But yeah, should be good. Should be fine.
And I think hopefully by the start of maybe next year as well, potentially another male.
Yeah, we're hoping to find another male by, probably around the January mark if things go along trajectory. Especially as I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm personally looking to work with like slightly fewer clients just to sort of focus on like a little bit more of a niche, and that will allow us to do that. And then we're looking for we're hoping to find a male who's got some experience in both natural and enhanced athletes. But I've got a few names at the moment, but still just playing it out as it goes.
Question 5. What do you deem important qualities for coaches to have in order to be successful?
They need to care and they need to have a good work ethic. I think just having the skill set and knowledge is just foundational. Like if you don't have that, don't bother. But you also need experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I've been coaching 7 years and I still don't have the experience. I still feel like I've got plenty to learn. And yeah, it really depends who you're dealing with.
Yeah. I think a willingness to learn as well. A willingness to share what they are learning too. I think it's very commonplace these days to see coaches sort of rely on their personal image or their like individual experiences to draw people in without actually sharing sort of what their knowledge bank is, which to me, if I was inquiring with a coach, doesn't make sense because I obviously want to know the ins and outs of what they understand, sort of what they enjoy learning and everything like that. So I think, and this is something that was very good with like our recent hire, is the willingness to learn. Like we can be confident that if we say applied coursework to this person's to-do list, like it would be done. And there's always a willingness to get better. And like the more, I think like you just said it, but the more you coach, the more you realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, try being around Joe Jeffrey for a few hours.
The more you do it, the less you know. And I think in this day and age too, I'm talking like female specific, there's always some new issue or there's something popping up which requires so much more than just a base level understanding. It's like it requires you to really go out of your way and hone in on something specific to understand what's going on like altogether. So yeah, I think willingness to learn is definitely something that pops up the most.
I think one of the things that coaches need to recognize too if you're starting out is anyone can offer a set of macros, anyone can offer a weekly check-in with a little bit of feedback and encouragement, but like having that the knowledge, the skill set, that's what's going to separate you, because 95% of coaches in the industry just don't have that base knowledge, and even if they do, it's just base. So if you want a tip for actually trying to consolidate a name for yourself if you're up and coming, is if you can focus on the science, the education, the understanding, conveying that to your audience, etc. I think that's what's going to separate you, because we were like trying to discuss the other day who really offers that, and there's very few. And the guys that generally go down that path actually end up steering away from coaching and going into some kind of more educational platforms, because like our coach Joe is like the what's that, like the top of the chain, I'd say, in regards to
Like the
that
epitome
knowledge.
of-
Yeah, the epitome. Like, he is unbelievable. And there's not many that are like him. They do exist. Probably more so outside of Australia than within. I know a few coaches within Australia who are quite good, but you wouldn't know it based on what they convey. Like, I've got a few names in my head.
Yeah.
One in particular who is one of the smartest dudes I know, but if you were on his social, you wouldn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think willingness to learn. Obviously, effort.
Effort's ridiculous. Like, this is not something to get into for your lifestyle, because the lifestyle, if anything, becomes worse. Yes, we can travel when we want to a degree, but the travel is not like going and sitting on a beach in Bali drinking cocktails.
I think if you perceive coaching as like a full-time thing and you want to be relaxed, then it's probably not for you whatsoever. The thought of having a check-in sitting there whilst I'm even like cooking my lunch, for example, I find stressful,
That's
let
me
alone
right now.
going and like doing things or delaying them. How you see, like, some people return them within like 3 days. Like, to me, if it sits there for like any minute longer than it needs to sit there, like, it's a stressor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, and we also need to consider, I think a lot of people need to consider that you need longevity in this as well. And so people do take advantage of things thinking it's forever, but like, I've been through plenty of waves with the business, and it's something that you need to continually work on to do well in.
Yeah. Last question number 6. Do you build relationships with clients / get attached to them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very dependent on the individual. I try and build with relationships, obviously, with all clients. Having such like a variation between clients. I've got girls who are 16. I've got women who are in their like late 60s. Some are slightly more difficult, or some just prefer like less communication. They simply just want to sort of get the job done. So it's very individual. I do find, and sometimes I feel like I get borderline too attached to some individuals, not necessarily attached to them, more so attached to, like, not attached, but too invested in what their goals are. And then obviously, like, with all the wins, you also feel all the sort of losses and the lows that clients go through. So yeah, it can be quite, and a lot of the time clients will also utilize you for more than just a coach. Like, you hear some crazy stories. Like, I last night had to put my phone on do not disturb at like 9 p.m. because the messages that were coming through, I just thought, I'm never gonna sleep reading like some of these messages of like what a client's currently dealing with. So yeah, it does sometimes get a little bit intense on that front, but
I wouldn't say it gets intense for me.
I do.
I've got a good relationship with most of them. Do you get attached? Yeah. I've only had probably a handful that leave me, and I've actually been like upset. Yeah, no, you do get upset. It depends on the nature of it. If they were moving on, like, I had one client I was really close with, moved on to another coach, but when he told me he was located overseas, it was very much like this was due. Yeah, that was probably like one of the ones where I would have always thought previously, like, when he leaves, I'd be devastated. But yeah, you do form relationships with these people, and they do become friends, and obviously the nature of life, plus obviously not dealing with them on a professional level anymore. When you do see that detached, like when you do like potentially no longer work with them, it can be quite sad at the time. But it's like anything in life. Like, you make friends come and go. Not to say that someone doesn't remain a friend, but like, it might be difficult to catch up with them. You might see them once a year. My closest friends, I'm lucky to see 5-6 times a year. And that's like my closest friends of like 20 years. So yeah. But in terms of relationships, I feel like I do a better job than most coaches would with building a relationship with my clients. And I do feel like some of them do take for granted the level of service that I do offer and the relationship that I do offer. And there is times where messages come through and I think, well, you could move on to someone else, and you can see what they would, their equivalent to this would be. Just when there's like an annoyance and like maybe a reply delayed by a few hours, or like a bit of a just like, oh, everything will be all right, when they want something more detailed. It's like another coach would not give you even anything here. Like, there's coaches that you can't even message out. Most coaches, actually, you can't even message outside of the check-in. Yeah, which is crazy.
I feel like a relationship is important, but obviously boundaries within that relationship, because you don't want to get to a point whereby you lack a level of authority. So they might have the ball more so in their court in regards to how they're navigating things, and you just don't have that sternness and you just like are unsure that if you actually put things in place, things will go sort of how you intend them to go. If say it becomes like too much of a friendly relationship, for example. But 99% of the time, I would much prefer to have a really solid relationship, hear from a client frequently, be invested, even if obviously like there are ups and downs to their journeys. Everybody has ups and downs. I would much rather be invested. Try not to be more invested than they are, but still incredibly invested, because it just like, I feel as though if you don't build a relationship and you don't get invested and you don't like experience the wins with the client, then coaching as a whole is just not worth it. Like that's the whole point, is to feel and like coach a client to these wins.
Let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Mint, thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.